Alrighty, so I've got a Nanopress with the Brewster kit, and I was trying to make a coffee the other day when I noticed that it was taking harder to pump, or it was taking longer to pump, and it didn't feel smooth in the pumping. And when I removed this rubber gasket, there was a little orange bung attached to it. I didn't, because I just flicked this out in a hurry, I didn't pay much attention to what was underneath it, but there was a little orange bung just sitting there, but it was clearly loose and had come from somewhere else, and I wasn't sure where and what orientation it was meant to go in. So I reinserted it in there, but in order to get it in there, you have to strip it apart. So this is how you strip it apart, according to Troy. This just exposes the Phillips head screws. They're a fairly biggish Phillips head. So I'm using, I think that's probably a number 2, I'm not real sure. It's just your stock standard Phillips head. They're not real tight. Just make sure you don't do them up too tight when you put it back together. Four screws. All the screws are the same size when you're doing this, so it's not real important to keep them all separate. Excuse me, I've got a cold. So this now just pops out. And you're left with the inside of the pump mechanism. So before you go any further, note the orientation of these little pins, because these just come out. Okay, so obviously some coffee grinds on there. And this little guy here. So the cross section faces up. Okay, now in order to get to where that little rubber bung goes, you need to take out the pump mechanism. But in order to do that, you need to take out the handle, because it captures the white section there. Now on the internet, there's a few different ways. Some are quite forceful, but the thing to remember is this lump here, this capturing lump, this proud section must end up facing front, facing the top. So this is actually quite a square section. It looks round here, but it's actually quite square. And it's the only surface that has that lump on it, so it must face up when you go to put it back together. Interestingly, you'll note this rebag cutout section is not symmetrical to the rest of the mechanism. So it is meant to be a little bit off center, that one. All right, so to remove that, some use force and twist that around, but I've found that if you can just grab the handle and just give it a wobble up and down, you're trying to get it past that lump. Like so. Okay, now that's the plunger inside. That should not be loose either. That should be tight. And and that was self-inflicted because I thought to get the pump apart yesterday, take off the sticker, there's a Phillips head screw there, undo that. That has now loosened, and I need to reattach that, so I'll do that as well. Okay, so that section there, that also can come apart, but there's no reason to. So that's the orientation with that lump. You'll notice that you got this rebate section here, but on the underside there is no lump. All right, so just make sure the lump goes to the top when you put it back together. Spring just comes out. It's covered in white grease, silicone grease. Okay, so now we have access to the pump. If we undo the two Phillips head screws now, we still won't be able to get it out. So we need to unscrew this. It's just a plastic thread, so be careful. Okay. Not the greatest lighting, is it? So that's the pump. Again, these are stainless steel wood screws going into plastic, so when it comes to putting it back together, be very gentle. Do not over tighten, otherwise you will split these standoffs. Like I said, they're all the same size. Okay, so this now will pop out, but it is in fairly tight. So just give it a wiggle. So you'll see down in there, there is that just popped off while I took that pump out. So the spring sits in there like that, but this is the tricky thing. So what I assumed happened when I was making coffee is I thought the rubber grommet slid across, got forced through with the pressure and came through this gap, this hole like that. And maybe it did, I don't know. Just reconsidering here. So that's the piece I'm trying to work out where it lives. And I always thought it was like that in the system. But there is this little ring. I don't know whether that's because of the impression the spring has made on it. I don't know whether it goes in that way. And then the spring sits on top. That's what I'm thinking it is now. But I'm curious that the grommet, one, I don't know how it got past everything, past the spring if it was down in here. See, that makes more sense to me. So, the question is that how it goes in? I think it is. Alright, I'm going to pause there. I'm going to go and find some more grease. In cleaning it, you're going to remove a lot of grease, so that needs to be replaced. Okay, just found this sort of spring bearing washer, and I've noticed that it looks like it might be damaged. So I don't know if you can see, but some of this wall is missing. I suspect that is not normal. And I don't reckon that is a standard part. Anyway. So while I'm at it, I might as well remove some of these orange O-rings and re-grease them. I'm going to use this. This is plumber's grease. It's a non-toxic, high-grade, food-grade grease used for your everyday taps. You get it at Bunnings. Trying not to disturb that sticker, that adhesive. So I want to get this out so I can actually put some thread locker on it. This plunger down in there, there's a lot of grease residue, so presumably this needs to be lubed up, this plunger. Sorry about the cough. Okay, get some thread locker. Just using some Permatex medium strength thread locker. You can use Loctite if you want. I really don't want it to mix with the grease. This has got a keyed section, so that's probably where I went wrong yesterday, is I didn't do it on the keyed section, so naturally it was going to come loose. Okay, that's pretty tight. much. Gonna douse that with some goop. Okay, put everything back together, reverse order. So, we need to put our little mysterious spring back in. So, just to be sure, I'm putting, this spring is coned in shape. So I'm putting the fat end into the housing, the spring gripping onto the narrow end. Okay. And then that needs to go in upside down like so. So I'm going to scoop it in. I can visually check the spring through the gap in here. Yep, I can see it. Squash that down in there so it's firm. Sorry, I've done that without. So you can see my spring in there. It does look a little bit bent out of shape. Not sure if you can see this. So you can just see the orange grommet bung in there with some of the coiled spring around it. I suspect what's happened, why it's pushed through, is because we're putting just too much pressure. We overloaded the coffee cup, coffee bean holder. Okay, that goes back in. You can't put that in wrong because it's got a keyed section. Okay, so this little guy here goes in the back. Like so. It's quite a loose, wobbly fit. This guy here with the silicone cone on it goes in upside down like that. Throw some screws in. Okay. Screw this back in. Gently close up that gap. That's probably about it. Spring goes on. Now the spring slides in and out that the plunger, so that's why it's so greasy. So stands to reason that needs grease on it. So it a couple of ways. You can grease inside there, but now I've got all this moisture in there and that other grease. Technically, moisture should never get in there. So, I think I'll just apply it to here. It's just so it rubs up on the plunging handle smoothly, that's all this is. Remember, you need to locate this lump. There are two other smaller lumps, but this lump has to be on the top. And it simply snaps in. Okay, and lay that in so that it's keyed. Hopefully that will stay there now. Pop that guy back in. Alright, so there are all the parts in there. You can't put this on wrong because these two holes are closer than those two holes. So the only thing you need to worry about is getting these, or that little orange guy, lined up in that hole. So that little guy in there. Give it a wiggle in till it seats. Check that you got no parts left lying around. And that should wobble. Okay. Remember, steel going into plastic screw holes, be gentle. Do them alternate. Very light pressure on the screwdriver. Letting it find its own thread. Probably should have put some silicone on that seal. I'm going to do that. Just double check I've still got my spring and my pin. These have a little hole in them at the bottom that goes facing down. Okay, this is your little breather. Lets the air into the canister while you're pumping, but not lose the pressure. And there you have it. It's now back together. Okay, let's make coffee. Okay, as far as the head of the unit goes, it's pretty simple. That just pops out with a bit of pressure. So I've just made first coffee after strip and assemble of the main part of the system, and this should be very, very clean because I cleaned it yesterday. All right, but just for demonstration, it's a 2.5 millimeter Allen key to open her up. Again, these are wood screws. These are stainless steel wood screws going into plastic, so it's important to be gentle when putting them back in. Okay, already there's a bit of coffee build-up under those screws. All right, so actually before I do that, let's take the seal off. Wow, so not sure if you can see that, but that's after one coffee I've got build up of grinds in there. So yeah, this seal needs regular cleaning, almost every time you use it. So there you go. So that pops and just falls out once you've got the screws off. Give that little surface a clean. You can't put this in back to front because it's going to be proud. Okay. Obviously give that a clean. Alright, this section here just unscrews. Remember the orientation. Okay, that just seats down in there. It's quite a strong spring. Obviously if there's a build-up of rubbish in there, well then that orange bung is not going to seal. And then inside here is just another little black piece. So yeah, there's not much to this section, so that goes in like so. So pointy end down, spring with the red bit on top. Back in, a little bit of pressure and wind. Don't overwind it. Okay, then we're going to put our plate back on. Okay, just easy to cross thread through these. So just do the finger start to get it going. Just try and let it find its own thread. Once they look like they're okay. Very easy to cross thread these. Okay, put the seal back on. Make sure it's sitting flat. Okay, and drop it back in and click. There you go. Cleaned that out the other day, yesterday, and it was filthy under that ring. So yeah, definitely remove this ring, get the coffee grinds out of there regularly. Water in. Okay, let's see how we go. Oh. Okay. Stop it. Okay. Okay. Just popped. Okay, that feels like it might be. Still going. Okay, that's it. sure if you can see, but it's not a bad crema. So, whew. Thanks for watching. Tastes pretty good. Smells good too. But it was hard work doing that pump. Thanks for watching. Hope it helps someone. Just another tip, if you're filling this up with hot water and you intend to use the cup to drink from, remove the cup before you fill it up with hot water, because once you screw it on there, the expansion, you will not be able to get that cup off. So remove cup before filling reservoir if you want to use the cup. So just a tip, if you're finding that your tank reservoir has water, a significant amount of water left in the bottom of it, it's probably because of the way you're holding the pump as you're pumping away. So if you're pumping like this, this is where the water gets sucked in, where that little orange cross pin is, and through that, okay? So if you're pumping away like that, you're going to put this into a dry position. This is where the air comes in to pressurize the canister. So when you're getting towards the end, have the handle pointing up, so that the last bits of water actually are covering the suck point or the exit point, so they actually get sucked in. So you get every last dreg. Did I say dreg? As far as methods of pumping, I just don't have the finger pressure to sustain that sort of pumping for a big coffee, such as the Barista Kit one. So I tend to interlock my fingers and I use my whole arms from the shoulders down to pump. I feel like I'm doing CPR. And to keep the pump elevated, going up when you get towards the end, so that you've got the water covering the drain hole.